Hi, it's Karen from the Reading Corner. Today we're going to talk about one of our sentence activities. I'm going to be honest, I had a really hard time putting this in the curriculum because I felt like it was kind of advanced for a preschool or a kindergarten child. So there's a lot going on this paper, and I want to make sure that we kind of break it down so you don't feel like your child should just be like, oh, here, can you do this? Can you write it? Can you read it? Can you do all that kind of stuff? Again, with all of our activities, I had a really hard time when I would go on like Teachers Pay Teachers or something, and I would download like an activity, and it would just be like this big, like, you know, like a strawberry and a cherry and something else red, and then two other objects, and it said color the objects that are red, and it would take my child like 2 seconds to do, and I'm like, I wasted paper and time on that. So when I do this, it's not intended for you to do all of it at the same time. I just want to kind of put as much on the activity so it's more valuable to you and your child. So the very first thing that we will do with this is I'm going to cut it up. I'm going to cut this piece off. I'm going to cut this piece off. The very first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on this sentence, and I'm going to say, I'm going to point to the words, and I want you to see how I use my finger to point to the words. I can see the big yellow sun. Can you try? So if that's all you get to for the first 2 or 3 weeks, the first couple times of doing this activity, that's great. You're doing one-to-one correspondence, you're doing concepts of print, like there's so many good things in there. The next part that I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these pieces down here off. And now all I'm going to say is, again, I'm going to read it, I'm going to point to the letters, and then I'm going to say, can you match the words under here and put it together? And of course, we're going to say, they're going to write it. The writing part I have trouble with because there's a lot of different schools of thought on writing. For me, I want to give kids ample opportunities to just write, to have notebooks and stickers and Post-its and index cards. But I also really believe that you have to teach kids the right way to write their letters early on. It lends itself to cursive. It lends itself to writing more fluently. So when I do this activity, I'm really not going to focus too much on my handwriting and letter recognition, but make sure you go and watch our video on handwriting because it really does show you the right way to write letters. But on this activity, I'm really just wanting them to kind of match the letters and see if they can make the words. To make this a little more complex, you can have the sentence, and then you can say, okay, now I want you to look at the sentence, and I'm going to cover one, and I want to see if you can spell that word without looking at it. So I'm going to tell them first. I'm going to say, I'm going to cover that word before you write this. Can you look at that word? Can you put a picture of that in your brain? And then when you start writing that sentence, let's see if you can write that word by yourself. These are all words that are in the sight words that are in our curriculum. So these are all words that are being exposed to. I try to make sure that everything meshes together. So if these are words that they've been, I don't use words up here unless I've taught them already. So these are words that they've already seen. Down here this is really just a kind of like a simple, let's see if we can do a CVC word, which is consonant, vowel, consonant. Here's the word, and can we make sure that we can see which of these is spelled correctly? And then the reason for this is really just for a quick tutorial for you. When I get to this part, can we circle each word? We're circling the words, and can we clap each word? This is, again, just a concept of print. So we want to make sure that kids can clap the isolated sounds or words in sentences, because then eventually that helps them to do the one-to-one correspondent, which is kind of, pointing the word to the sentence. So again, I hesitated putting this in, but then my teachers always came back to me. They're like, can we get some more sentence activities? So even don't feel like you look at this and go, oh my gosh, my kid has to write that. I mean, it's like a first grade skill. It really is. That's just to add to it if you want to. In the classroom, what I used to do with these is I always modeled this in the pocket chart. So I put all the different words on index cards, and I started whole group before I ever asked kids to make sentences on their own. And then what I might do is I might put one of these on a sentence strip and give the letters underneath, and maybe do 2 or 3 of those. So now you can have a really great literacy center because you've got 3 or 4 sentences on sentence strips and then all the words down here, and a child or a group of kids needs to put those words in order to make the sentence. I'm going to unpack all this in our instructional video. Make sure, like I said, make sure you go to our handwriting video, because it's really important that you at least get your child acclimated to where the 2 o'clock is on a sentence. I have lots of kids, and I have found that my one daughter that I didn't do a lot of handwriting instruction on is struggling to get her writing done in 4th grade because her handwriting's sloppy, and it's more laborious for her to get her writing in, and she doesn't like to write as much. Whereas my first child, because I had tons of time with him, has really great handwriting, and he loves writing because the actual skill of writing isn't laborious for him. So thanks for joining me, and we'll see you at the next video.